Today I address you and have the privilege of wearing two hats. While I represent the W.H.Y Atash Behram and the Bandra Kama Trust as a trustee, I also have the privilege of having completed my Nawar and Martab very recently under the tutelage of Aspandyarji Dadachanji. And let me tell you, there is no greater pleasure than entering the Qibla and tending to the fire and giving boy. Unfortunately, I completed my Martab ceremony much later, and I've only got this privilege since the last year or two. But the pleasure that you derive in serving the fire is immense. Our respected W.H.Y Dastoor Sahib, when he started today, he highlighted two issues which I would like to give some views on. And in my humble submission, both the aspects highlighted are completely intertwined and interconnected. Number one, he highlighted the falling footfall in our agiaries and atash behrams. And number two, what we are all addressing and discussing is how do we increase the number of Mobeds, how do we incentivize and motivate them. And both these aspects are interconnected. If you take the aspects of our agiaries and atash behrams and the falling footfalls, the responsibility here is not just of the trustees or only the Mobeds. The responsibility lies with each and every member of our community, our parents, our teachers. I recently addressed an audience in Wadiaji Atash Behram, where what I exactly addressed the same issue as what I said is each of us as members of our community, if we inspire and motivate even one more person to attend agiaries and atash behrams regularly, not just on salgiras, not just on birthdays, then the number of people attending the agiaries and atash behrams will increase. It will have a chain effect. They in turn will inspire other people. And that is what is the first step in that sense, the increasing number of community folk attending agiaries and atash behram on a regular basis, sparing 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the day to attend agiaries and atash behrams. That can have a trickle effect, and eventually it also goes on to address the issue about Mobeds and what their contribution is. The other aspect which Dastoorji highlighted, he mentioned that there are 20 odd agiaries doing very well, 10 who are doing okay, and 10 who are in dire need of help and assistance. Our community, our religion, has always been based on the spirit of interdependence. Therefore, there are trusts who are doing well, who have the income and the resources. If these trusts get together and help those agiari trusts which are in need of finance and financial aid, that can also, in that sense, improve the situation so that we all move forward collectively as all agiaris, atash behram, so that everyone grows together. That is the spirit which we always represent as members of our Parsi Zoroastrian community. And lastly, on the first aspect of agiaris and atash behrams, we also have a number of volunteer groups who do pro bono service in terms of repair, renovation of agiaris and atash behrams. When members of community voluntarily participate in these endeavors, they definitely again create a mass of people who in that sense are involved with affairs of an agiari and atash behrams, even if it is in terms of contributing by way of repairing, renovation and other work. So their efforts are always something to be recognized. So this is my thought on the first aspect which Dastoorji highlighted as to how to increase the footfall in agiaris and atash behrams, which, as I said, is an aspect which is completely intertwined and interconnected with the future of the Mobedi and the Mobedi profession. Now, coming to how do we increase the number of Mobeds? How do we motivate them? I think my thought is in the 3 R's. That is respect, recognition, and role models. Now, the first aspect is any profession deserves respect. But respect is not something which is demanded. It is something which is commanded. And that respect can develop through training and proficiency in your own profession. And let me tell you that, like in any other profession, like a doctor or lawyer, training does not stop with age. We have even 60 and 70-year-old senior counsel as lawyers who say that we are still students of law, will still keep on learning every day we go to court. Similarly, even in the case of our Mobeds, each and every day is a day in a profession where you learn and the training continues as you grow. And that is something which will come from within. Because once you see that you are contributing as a Mobed and you are gaining that respect, that itself will come from within, where you will want to learn more and more and become better and better in your profession. So that is the first aspect about respect, which comes from training, from learning higher ceremonies. Every Mobed here should be happy to undergo training to learn the higher rituals like the Vanida, the Yajashnis, to perform them on a regular basis and contribute in that way. So that is one very important aspect. The second aspect is recognition of our Mobeds who have been contributing. And this is a very important motivational aspect. And motivation plays an important role in development of any profession. Let me give you an example. I was visiting the Iran Shah Atash Behram last year. It was evening. The boy ceremony was conducted by a Mobed, Uman Katila. I attended the ceremony. I was very impressed with the way he was praying. And after he completed, I generally happened to speak to him, and what he told me was very inspiring. He said that he used to have a lucrative job in London and UK, but he left everything and came here to serve Iran Shah Atash Behram because that is where his heart lies. That is what he wanted to do. Now these are examples where we have individuals who even left other lucrative professions to come and do where their calling lies and where their heart is. These are the kind of examples one needs to recognize. There are so many agiaries and atash behrams where there is a dearth of Mobeds. And when I hear, for example, there is a Valsad agiari where there is only one Mobed who is tending to the fire 365 days. I mean, giving five times a day. It is not something which is very easy, and these efforts need to be recognized. And our Parsi media, in that sense, social media, our regular Parsi media, does play a very important role so as to highlight the efforts of these individuals, put them in the forefront. You do recognize lawyers, doctors, businessmen. Why not also recognize the efforts of our very own Mobeds? So that is something which will also come in very handy. Another example is my very own cousin, Zerick Dastoor, who is a Mobed at Boys Agiari. In Boys Agiari, we have a rule that when you are in a day where you're giving a boy 5 times a day, you cannot move out of the Agiari. Now, around 10 to 15 years ago, we had a dearth of boywalas, and there was no boywala, it was only him. And it was amazing to watch that for almost like 90 to 100 days, when we were looking for another boywala, he did not even move out of the Agiari. He was there throughout. In this day and age, this is not something which is very easy. And these are the efforts of Mobeds which need to be recognized. And with recognition, there will always be motivation, where there will be more and more people who are inspired to come into the profession. Lastly is the concept of role models. Every profession has role models you look up to. We have our late Aspande R.J. Radachandji, who in that sense is a role model whom we even remember today for his contributions and the number of children that he brought into the Mobedi profession through Nawar and Martab. Today we have his son and his grandson who are also practicing as priests. He has given a legacy in that sense, not only through his own practice, but also his children who practice today. We have our Vara Dastoorjis, Dastoorji Kotwal, who is a religious scholar, unparalleled for so many years. We have Dastoorji Raoji, who has been contributing in terms of a number of rituals which he has been performing with all his heart. We've got Dastoorji, Vara Dastoorji Kersi Dastoor, who has always been taking up issues of community at the highest level, representing the community and taking up the issues with the government whenever they arise. These are the individuals who act as role models. And when you have a role model in your profession, you feel inclined to follow, you feel inclined to emulate. And that is another very important aspect of motivation for our priests. Finally, there should be incentives. Our trusts, our community do help out. In fact, we at the Bandra Trust do help out with financial and medical aid for the Dastoorjis and the Mobeds. But what I feel that incentives should also be linked to performance, should also be linked to training, should also be linked to what you contribute in terms of your knowledge and acumen. Priests who perform the higher ceremonies ought to be incentivized even more so that more people follow suit. There are various other endeavors which can always be undertaken. For example, the trust can get together and perhaps form an insurance scheme for the Mobeds in future so that their future is in that sense protected. So all these efforts, all these thoughts, it's a wonderful endeavor that we are all here together today as members of our Parsi Zoroastrian community, having our own view so that we can represent and we can create a situation that tomorrow, in future, we have Mobeds by will and by choice. As they say, take the first step with faith, even if the end of the ladder is not really visible. Thank you very much.
I think it is excellent that what Zerick has just spoken about. Can we all get up and give an applause to his cousin who has been serving the fire so generously all these years? Thank you.
I am Kersi Limathwala, trustee of W.H.Y Fire Temple Trust at Lal Bagh. I am happy the Athornan Mandal has taken the initiative. But this is a problem which no single organization can solve. It has to be a concerted effort because it's a complex problem. There is economics involved. There is religion involved. There is social aspect involved. So unless and until people come together, this problem is not going to get solved. So what do we do? I think what is important is Athornan Mandal, the Agiari Trust, the panthakys and Mobeds, and other institutions like the BPP, and even community activists come together and find a solution. But how do we do that? We do it through empowering Mobeds. I will take a time on what we should do when we say empowering. Empowering doesn't mean giving doles. That should be very important. Number two is augmenting the resources of the agiaries through better management of funds and properties of the agiari. Now that we leave it to the trustees, how they want to do that, but what certainly needs to be done is the property and funds of the agiaries have to be managed in a way whereby the funds are augmented, because unless and until the funds of the agiary trust are augmented, they will not be able to pay the Mobeds. The second aspect is coordination between various panthakys of various agiaries and Mobeds in the town. As we said, there are about 50 or so, but there has to be a coordination between them, because we know of a severe problem which everybody faces at Dungarwari, where we don't get priests to pray before our Ravan. To begin with, what I suggest is that we have to equip Mobeds whereby they can pursue something else together with Mobedi, till such time we are able to compensate them to a level where we think they should be compensated. So we have to equip them with certain skills. Now today, in this day and age, I think computer education is a must. And if you have the basic computer education, you can do a lot of work on the computer together with doing Mobedi. Now, in my own profession as an accountant, there are things which a person can do, like data feeding, accounts writing, return filing. You don't need to be qualified for that, because today softwares are very compatible and user-friendly. So we need to empower. What I meant was empowering Mobeds by equipping them with skills whereby they could augment their income. Yes, we should pay them more, but we should equip them with skills where they can augment their income. And I'm sure there are other professions also whereby they can be able to give that type of jobs to the Mobeds, where they can do things online. Now, after the pandemic, work from home culture has started. It gives a lot of flexibility, which can be easily implemented. And gone are the days of art, science, and commerce. Now there are so many vocational fields open. You have fitness training, you have culinary. Now, in so many agiaries, the kitchens are not functional. I know one agiary which supplies all the mithi vani and whatever you call it to the agiaries in town. But I'm sure if one has the inclination and the desire for culinary interests, one can build that up, not just for the agiari type of food, but for any type of food. So there are these various avenues open together with Mobedi. As I said, one has to complement and supplement it together with their Mobedi income till such time we are able to compensate them for what we are talking about.
May I request Dr. Pervez Bajan?
આજે આ સ્ટેજની ઉપર હું ઊભો છું, એક પંથકી તરીકે ઊભો છું, એક મોબેટ તરીકે તમારી સન્મુખ ઊભો છું, અથોનાન મંડળના એક 40 વર્ષથી એક મેમ્બર તરીકે ને છેલ્લા 25 વર્ષથી એક ટ્રસ્ટી તરીકે આજે ઊભો છું. કે there are two madrasas in a Parsi community anywhere in the world, and that is in Bombay. One was at Adar Madrasa and one was Andheri Madrasa. And they are the Oxford and Cambridge of the world for the Mobeds. We are proud that we are the students of these universities. તો આજે આ ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યુશન્સ જો નીકળ્યા છે જે મદ્રાસાના એમ્પાવરિંગ મોબેડને માટે કંઈ કરવા માગે છે, I think it is very much needed in nowadays. So મોબેડ એક એવું સાહેબ વોકેશન છે કે ફર્સ્ટ ડિઝર્વ એન્ડ ધેન ડિઝાયર. સ્કીમ્સો તો ઘણી આવી અને જશે, પણ તેને કેમ ઇમ્પ્લિમેન્ટ કરશે એ સાહેબ અહીંયા બેઠેલા તમે આ થરવાનો ઇમ્પ્લિમેન્ટ કરી શકશો. આપણે બધા સાથે મળ્યા છીએ. લેટ અસ વર્ક ટુગેધર. થેન્ક યુ. અથ જમિયા તથા આફ્રિકા.
Can we have somebody who will be able to come out with the other solutions besides the ones which have already been mentioned so that there is no repetition? Anybody else would like to speak on this? Yes, please. Please come.
Yes, Dan Panabat to everybody here. I am Ervat Kerman Fatakia. I work with the W.H.Y Agiary as well as the curator of the Alpaiwala Museum. Solution which I have is કે મદ્રેસામાં જેમ રાજા સાહેબે બી કહ્યું કે મદ્રેસામાંથી જ્યારે બચ્ચાઓ રજામાં આવે અને એકદમ ટેમ્પર્ડ એટમોસ્ફિયરમાં હોય તો there are chances they lose that grip which they have there. So for the young Nawars and Martabs, when they come home in vacation, જ્યારે લોકો વેકેશનમાં રજામાં આવે ત્યારે એઝ અ પેરેન્ટ ઇટ ઇઝ અવર રિસ્પોન્સિબિલિટી કે આપણી આજુબાજુમાં જો કોઈ અગિયારી હોય ને તોંગલ કોઈ સારા પ્રેક્ટિસિંગ પ્રીસ્ટ હોય તો આપણે એ લોકોની પાસે રજામાં મોકલીએ. બચ્ચું મદ્રેસામાં 5 વાગે ઉઠે ઘેરે આવે જરા સુવા દેવો. પ્લીઝ ડોન્ટ ડુ દેટ. દેટ ઇઝ આઈ પર્સનલી ટેલ ટુ ઓલ ધ પેરેન્ટ્સ even on the DAI panels, okay, don't do that. You are breaking them. You are not making them. If you want to make them, continue with what they are doing. Push them. તમે આજે બચ્ચાઓની લિમિટ પુશ કરશો તો કાલે ઉઠીને એ લોકો બી યોજદાત્રેગરી કરવા તૈયાર થશે. યોજદાત્રેગરીમાં ખાલી લાગણી ને એટલી નહીં, તમારી ફિઝિકલ હેલ્થ બી ઘણી ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે. આજે જો બચ્ચું 5 મિનિટથી 10 મિનિટ જો પલાથી વાળીને નહીં બેસી શકતો હોય તો આગળ જઈને તમે શું વિચાર કરશો કે શું કલાકોના કલાકો ઈંધોરા પર બેસવાનું છે? નહીં બેસી શકશે. પણ ઇફ યુ પુશ ધેમ ફ્રોમ અ યંગર એજ, ઇફ યુ કન્ડિશન ધેમ, તો ઓટોમેટિકલી દે વિલ ફોલ ઇન લાઇન. એન્ડ આઈ થિંક ધીસ ઇઝ વન ઓફ ધ સોલ્યુશન્સ વિચ આઈ સી ફ્રોમ ધ ટ્રેનિંગ પર્સપેક્ટિવ ઓફ ધ કિડ્સ. થેન્ક યુ સો મચ.
Mr. Hoshan Gotla, who is made a XYZ a dream team for the youngsters of our community, and it's the basically an association which is trying to give the impression to our kids to visit the agiaries, to know about the history, to know about our religion. So if he can come out with some out-of-box ideas as he comes out on every month in XYZ, I'll request Hoshan to speak a few words.
Thank you, Dastoorji. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that we are here for today is to get a solution to get our priests back into the fold. And I always remember Barjorji saying, "No priest, no Parsi," and that's always stuck with me. And for us, whenever we have our events or activities, for us, whenever priests, young or old, come, we always call them superheroes, because this is a role that not everyone can actually use or have. So one of the activities that we've done is through various events, we've taken kids to different agiaries, atash behrams, because when we ask them, have you been here or have you been there? The first thing is no, our parents have not taken us, or they know the agiari or atash behram which is only close to them. This December, we are doing our extravaganza, which is a fundraiser that we do every alternate year. And the first year we did a dance competition, we raised money for cancer patients, then we raised money for differently abled children. This year's theme was to raise money for our agiari caretakers, priests, and maintenance of the agiaries. So we've been working on how do people know about, one, where are these 50 agiaries in Bombay? Our kids unfortunately don't know where they are. So we've got 8 groups from Kolaba to Thane, and we've divided our agiaries into these 8 groups, where these 8 groups will be mentor groups of these agiaries. So each group has about 5 to 6 agiaries. They're going to take the children, the parents, their families to the agiaries. We're going to make them create videos, photos about what these agiaries are. We're going to pass them on through social media. When are the salgiras? Who are the priests? Who are the chasniwalas? Who's taking care of these agiaries? Children are going to create these videos and start circulating them. One, to not just inculcate more people to visit the agiaries or have more footfalls, but also to let people know that these are agiaries or atash behrams where we need people to come to actually be part of the community together. We're also working to understand what are the requirements of different agiaries and different priests and chasniwalas. And then we have our XYZ seniors. So the group per se, we are about 750 youth. So we have children between 2 to 7 who are our XYZ juniors, 7 to 15 who are the XYZ members who conduct activities, and 15 to 25 who are the seniors of the group. They are the role models for the younger children. Each senior will be in charge of a particular agiary who coordinates it from an XYZ perspective. So when people want to maybe have a jashan or maybe perform certain rituals in that agiary, we have a coordinator from our side also who ensures that this can happen, who can connect people not just in Bombay but from out of India as well to these agiaries. We're losing that connect with a lot of these places because unfortunately a lot of our people don't know about them. We need to get that back out where people come and visit these agiaries and they're not just houses of worship where the fire is lying. Someone recently mentioned, we have our old age homes and we keep people in an old age home. What the homes provide is they provide care, medical facilities. Unfortunately, we don't have people coming and meeting them, visiting them, talking to them. That's what they long for. Our fires are longing for the same thing. We have beautiful buildings where these fires are in. Unfortunately, no one is going and speaking to those fires. No one is going and confiding in those fires. And our priests do a fantastic job. And the more we can do for them, the better. It's unfortunate that we are stuck on salaries which are so low for the priests. And I feel sad when people say that the priest should have a second income. Would you suggest a doctor also be a carpenter? No. Our priests are doing this full time, and I implore and request more that they can. And definitely a higher salary is one aspect of it. But perks, whatever additional rewards we can give, we must work at giving. So on our front, at least from the children of the community, I know we're trying to push more towards getting more children aware about where our fires are, how we can take care of them, how we can take care of the places of worship. And I just hope all the trusts will be there to support us and give us access to the priests, to the chastiwalas, to actually speak to them and get a little more friendly with these people to understand how we can help them. Thank you.
Hanauf would like to say something.
I don't even know whether I'm qualified enough to stand and speak with all of you because I don't walk in your shoes. And only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. We've heard eloquent arguments today. Ghani vaato samjhi, very, very well put arguments from various sides. And the main problem that seems to be coming out, that seems to be vocalized is, it is the absence of funds which is pushing, not the absence of funds, but the funds not in the right hands, the Mobedi not getting properly remunerated, not being able to do their job well, simply because there is inadequacy of funds in their hands so that their lifestyles don't improve, they don't get along in life well, they are not able to even meet their basic requirements, their basic needs. Jimmy has very eloquently put across a very fairly cogent argument on this. But as a stakeholder, as a person who receives services from you, as a community member, I also have a view on this. Okay, how maybe this problem can be solved to a certain extent. And besides the various suggestions which have come, a couple of them I would like to mention. Of course, Vada Rasuji Kotwal has been very eloquent, Kojaste has spoken very well, and many of you speakers have spoken. But a few points I'd like to make and maybe differ from some of you. I'm a complete outsider, as I say again, on this issue. Whenever we want कि कहीं succeed થાય, for example, આપણે પોતે કઈ important ચીજ કરવા માગતા હોઈએ કે કઈ પ્રોફેશનમાં આગળ ચાલવા માગતા હોઈએ તો આપણે શું કરીએ? We concentrate on that. We focus on that. We give our best effort to take that forward. આજે હું પ્રોફેશનલ એક્ઝામ આપતો હું તો હું 50 ચોપડીઓ વાંચું, લાઇબ્રેરીમાં જાઉં, રિસર્ચ કરું, એક્સપર્ટ્સો સાથે વાત કરું. But I would concentrate on that itself. હું આજે law કરતો હું તો હું lawમાં જ ઘૂસું ને law જ concentrate કરીને તે get the best there. If I am going to digress, if I am going to be distracted, if I am going to listen to 100 other things, which is exactly what is happening today to our youth. આજે secular education આપણે આપવા કહીએ છીએ એ લોકોને, which is of course very essential. પણ તેમાં બી કેટલી extra curricular activities હોય છે, સ્પોર્ટ્સમાં ઘૂસવું પડે છે, સ્કૂલમાં આ કરવું પડે છે. Consequently, જે ટાઈમ આપવો પડે જે મોબેડી પર આપવો પડે છે તે બહુ ઓછો થતો ચાલ્યો. Now, if he is going to become an excellent mobed, આગળ ચાલીને એને વંડીદાટ કરવાની હોય, ઇજસની શીખવાની હોય, નિરંગડીન જેવી મોટી ક્રિયાઓ કરવાની હોય, તો that child has to focus. It has to do exactly that thing only. આજે એથ્લીટ શું કરે છે? સવારના 5 વાગે ઉઠે છે, વરસાદ પડતો હોય, તડકું પડતું હોય, ઠંડી લાગતી હોય. He will run and he will practice and he will do that for 3-4 hours. સાંજના પાછો જશે. સોલ્જરો શું કરે છે? દિવસ રાત પાણીના અવતાર થઈ જાય છે એ લોકો. But they concentrate on that thing only. ત્યારે 3-4 વર્ષ રહીને તે કમાન્ડો થઈને બહાર આવે છે કે નેવલ ઓફિસર તરીકે બહાર આવશે and at a certain stature, not at any, normal level. He is good in what he does. આપણા મોબેડોને બી તે જ આજે જરૂરત છે. Rather than digressing them, make them stick to what they are doing, push them, give them improvements there. એ લોકોને empower કરો to do their job, not to distract them. I'm sorry, I may be at variance with some of you, but that is one point that I would like to make. Another point is that most of us try to look at priesthood as a profession. It is not a profession. It's a calling. It's a vocation. એક બચ્ચાને અંદરથી તે ધગસ આવી જોઈએ. મારી કુટીને કોઈને નથી મુસલમાન બનાવતો અને મારી કુટીને મોબેદ બી નહીં બનશે કોઈ ડરો. એનામાં એ બચપનથી એ ધગસ આવી જોઈએ. કેટલા નલ્લા બચ્ચાઓ છે, બચપનથી they want to become cricketers. બચપનથી they want to become film stars. And they will pursue that. ગમે તે થાય. આપણે આ ટીવીમાં ટેલેન્ટ શોઝ જોઈએ છે કેટલા. You listen to those children talk. 5-6 વર્ષનો હોય ત્યારથી they are focused. ત્યારે 14-15 વર્ષનો થાય ત્યારે he is able to come to a certain level of perfection. એક્ઝેક્ટલી તે જોઈએ છે આપણા બચ્ચાઓમાં. આજે બચ્ચાઓને કોઈ બી ધક્કા મારીને મોબેડીમાં નહીં મૂકાશે. મોકલશો બી, 2 થપ્પડ મારીને કામ બી કરાવશો, એ આગળ ચાલીને એ છોડી જ દેવાનો છે. Because he is not intuited into this. He has to be enthused to do these things himself. તે બચ્ચાઓમાં, and as very rightly pointed out earlier, એ માય બાપનું કામ છે. બહારનાઓ કોઈ નહીં એ કામ કરી શકશે. It has to be the parents. આજે માય બાપ જ ડિફિડન્ટ હોય કે અરે અમે તો સફર કીધું, બચ્ચાનું કાંઈ સફર કરાવું, કોઈ ડરો બી આ ચીજ આગળ ચાલવાની નથી. અને આગળ ચાલતા બીજા 10 વર્ષમાં we are going to have a serious issue with morbeds. ધર્મમાં પ્રોબ્લેમ થઈ જશે because as they have said, without morbeds there can be no religion. બધા રૂવાન રખડવાના શરૂ થઈ જશે. One very important thing is we are all talking about મોબેડોને શું આપવું જોઈએ, એને પૈસા જાસ્તી જોઈએ, એજ્યુકેશનમાં જોઈએ છે, and rightly so. What about deliverables? What do I get back from a morbed when I am investing? આજે કેટલી સ્કીમો થઈ ગયેલી છે for various reasons. Insurance schemes થઈ ગયેલી છે, trusts are giving money to morbeds. આપણે જ્યારે રિઝલ્ટ જોઈએ છે, what is the deliverable? What is the morbed promising in return? ચાલો તમે મને મદદ કરી રહ્યા છો. What is he offering back? Is he promising કે હું આગળ ચાલતા જાસ્તી શીખસ, ના વર્ષે હું તો મર્તબ થવસ, ચાલો મહિનામાં એટલીસ્ટ 1 વંડી દાટ કરસ, 1 ઇજસની કોશિશ કરવા કરસ, કે એટલીસ્ટ લેટસ સે કે હું તરીકટો પાલસ, what I am required to do, એટલીસ્ટ 24 કલાક માથું બંધ કરીને ફરસ, which is required of a morbid. Where is that coming back? I don't see that coming back at all. There is only an expectation and all people running around to supply that expectation. It's good, we need to support our morbeds. But the morbid community also needs to give back. I am from the corporate world, so I see this. There is a deliverable. If I expect a high commission and I expect a high salary and I expect to get promoted, I am expected to take on more responsibility and I am expected to deliver much more. And I am expected to have a team which is well supported to move ahead. So that is something also that the morbid community also needs to think of. There is much more that we can talk, but just now time is less, so we'll deal with it later. But I assure you that there is a whole set of people here who's willing to listen to all your issues and work on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hanov. Thank you so much for your insight as far as the corporatization of the morbeds is concerned. I think Noshir would like to say a few words. May I ask Noshir to please come?
I had no desire to speak today. I think I had come to listen, to observe, and I have made some observations. The observations I made is that what drives any sphere of human endeavor is economics. You cannot wish it away. Yes, Mobedi is a vocation. Mobedi is a calling. પણ એક મોબેડ બી સંસારી માણસ છે. એના પરિવારની દેખરેખ રાખવી પડે. He has to think of his own future. He has to think of the future of his children. So we cannot wish economics away. The whole world is driven by economics. That is how it is. We have been talking about, and Jimmy is so right, 35,000નો પગાર તો આજે ડ્રાઈવરોનો છે. તમારી ઘણી ફેન્સી ગાડી હોય તો કદાચ 40-45નો બી હોઈ શકે. That is very true. But we all talk of this કે બધાને દર મહિને લાખ મળવો જોઈએ, કોઈને 2 લાખ. But are we going to do this piecemeal? કે એને what we really need to build is a corpus. We need a large corpus. I'm not going to hazard a guess કે 100 કરોડનું કોર્પસ જોઈએ કે 200 કરોડનું કોર્પસ જોઈએ. તે આવશે ક્યાંથી? We are fortunately and unfortunately a community that is asset rich and cash poor. I repeat, we are asset rich and cash poor. We are believed to be the second largest landlord of Bombay. હું એમ નથી કહેતો કે આ બધી પ્રોપર્ટી છે તેને લિક્વિડેટ કરો, કે આજે તો કંઈ બી બોલવા જઈએ વોટ્સએપ પર કે સ્ટેજની ઉપરથી તો યુનિવર્સિટી ઓફ વોટ્સએપ ઓવરડ્રાઈવમાં ચાલી જાય ને લોકો પીએચડીની થીસીસ લખતા થઈ જાય. સો જરા સંભાળીને બોલવું પડે. પણ આઈ હેવ રીચ્ડ અ સ્ટેજ ઇન લાઈફ વેન આઈ ફિયર નો વન એન્ડ આઈ કેર નોટ ફોર વોટ પીપલ સે. હું મઝગાંવમાં રહું છું મારા બચપનથી. 2 અગિયારીઓ છે, એક પટેલની અગિયારી ને એક અંજુમનની. ને તે 2 અગિયારી હતી તે ભગભક્તિ અગિયારીઓ હતી. બટ ટુડે ધ નંબર્સ હેવ ફોલન. વી કીપ ટોકિંગ કે આપણા બધા જ્યારે એસેટ્સ છે એ સંભાળી રાખવા જોઈએ. તમે કોના વાસ્તે સંભાળી રાખો છો? If you cannot enjoy it today, when you are barely 35 to 40,000 in Mumbai, તો તમે કોના વાસ્તે તે રાખવાના છે કે જ્યારે આપણી કોમની વસ્તી જેમ અમુક પ્રિડિક્શન છે કે 11,000 રહી જશે પારસી, તે લોકોના વાસ્તે રાખવાના છો જે લોકો સંભાળી બી નહીં શકશે આ એસેટ્સને. So we have to tackle what is called the elephant in the room. આજે દસ્તુજી કોટવાલ સાહેબે રિફોર્મની વાત કીધી. આઈ એમ સો ગ્લેડ. આજે ઘણા લોકો કહે છે તમે તો એક જમાનામાં ઓર્થોડોક્સ હતા, હવે રિફોર્મિસ્ટ થઈ ગયા. હું તો ઓર્થોડોક્સ બી નથી ને રિફોર્મિસ્ટ બી નથી. હું જરથુસ્ટ્રાએ જે માર્ગ કહેલો છે તેની ઉપર ચાલવામાં. આઈ ડુ નોટ બિલીવ ઇન પીપલ હુ આર હિપોક્રેટ્સ. એ હિપોક્રેસીની આપણને જરૂર નથી. Tackle the elephant in the room. We need to have reform. By reform, I do not mean કે આપણે અગિયારી આટસ બેરામોમાં કંઈ રિફોર્મ લાવો. જે છે તેને સાચવવાનું છે. પણ સાચવવાના વાસ્તે યુ હેવ ટુ ટેક સમ હાર્ડ પાથ્સ. પેગમ્બર સાહેબ અશોસ્પિતમાં ઝાથુશ્ર પોતે એક રિફોર્મિસ્ટ હતા. માઝદિયસની દિનમાં તે જ્યારે સરો લાગેલો હતો તેને સાફ સફાઈ તે પેગમ્બર સાહેબ ઝથુશ્ર કીધી છે. તો આપણે કંઈ અચકાઈ રહેલા છે તે કરવાના હશે. સો આઈ નો દેટ આઈ હેવ બીન અ લિટલ ઇમોશનલ. માય ઓનલી અપીલ ટુ યુ ઇઝ, પેગમ્બર સાહેબ આપણે સૌથી પહેલાં કહેલું છે કે તમારું માઇન્ડ વાપરો. લેટ્સ નોટ બી માઇન્ડલેસ ઇન અવર બિલીફ્સ કે આ નહીં થઈ શકે. વી હેવ અ હ્યુજ પ્રોબ્લમ બિફોર અસ એન્ડ હ્યુજ પ્રોબ્લમ્સ require huge reformistic ideas. Reformistic in the sense Vada Dastuji Kotwal has told us, who is perhaps the living authority on Zoroastrian rituals and philosophy and everything to do with Zoroastrian. And I'm so grateful to him for bringing that up today. My support with Dasturji and Sarosh will always remain. They are doing good work. And I am with everybody who will use the mind and not work mindlessly. Thank you very much.
Introduce yourself and the agiari that you represent.
I am practicing priest last 44 years. આજે તમે જોશો, આજે બધાનું મેં પ્રવચન બરાબર સમજ્યું ધ્યાનથી, મગજમાં બરાબર ઉતાર્યું. જેમ કોમ્પ્યુટરનું મગજ આપણું કોમ્પ્યુટરાઇઝ છે તે કોમ્પ્યુટરમાં બરાબર વાત ઉતરી ગઈ. ત્યારે મને આજે દસ્તુરજી, ખુરશેદ સાહેબ, ડાબુ સાહેબ જે આપણા વડિયાજી આટસ બેરમના 1960s અને 70sમાં વડા દસ્તુરજી હતા. પણ આજે જે ડાબુ સાહેબે જે મિટિંગ કરેલી 1960sમાં અને 70sમાં વાડિયાજી આતશ બેરામમાં, તે મિટિંગ આજે મને બરાબર આજે બી યાદ આવે છે કે આજે આપણે તેના માટે જ પાછા એકઠા થયા છે. પરંતુ આપણે તે વખતે બી નથી જાગ્યા ને આજે આપણે જાગવા ઊભા થયા છે. એટલે ગુજરાતીમાં કહેવત છે કે જાગ્યા ત્યાંથી સવાર. તે ડાબુ સાહેબની વાત તે જમાનાની અંદર લોકો મોટા મોટા ટ્રસ્ટીઓ, સોલિસિટર્સ, એન્જિનિયર્સ, આર્કિટેક્ચર્સ બધા બેઠેલા હતા. તેની સંભ્યાએ વાત થયેલી હતી ને ડાબુ સાહેબે કહ્યું હતું કે જો તમે આજે મારી વાતને નહીં માનશો તો એ પસ્તાવાનો દિવસ તમારો આવશે. ત્યારે તે જમાનાના ટ્રસ્ટીઓએ એમને હસી કરેલા. એમને બ્રિલિયન્ટ હતા. એમને પોતાને એકદમ સોલિડ નોલેજ હતું કે વર્ષો પછી આ શું સ્થિતિ દસ્તુરોની થશે, ટ્રસ્ટીઓની શું દશાઓ થશે, અગિયારીના મકાનોની શું દશાઓ થશે, કે આવતા જમાનાની અંદર આતશ બેરામની અંદર, અગિયારીઓની અંદર માણસોની તકલીફ પડશે, ચાસણીવાળાની તકલીફ પડશે, પંથકીઓની તકલીફ પડશે. ગામોમાં અગિયારીઓ ઘણી બધી છે. સુરતના તમે ખાલી ગામડાઓ જાઓ, માંડવી તાલુકા જાઓ, માંડવી, બારડોલી, વ્યારા, નવસારી કેવું, સુરત કેવું, એવા ગામડાની ઘણી બધી અગિયારીઓ છે. આ મારા 44 યર્સની અંદર મેં ગામડાઓની અંદર ઘણી બધી સેવાઓ આપીશ. આપણને એવરી મંથ આજે મારી અગિયારીમાં હું જે કાઠી ભરાવું છું તે 20,000 થી 25,000 રૂપિયા કાઠીનો ખર્ચો થાય આજની તારીખની અંદર. તો આજે તમે વિચાર કરો કે આદરણીય સાહેબને, આતશ પાટસા સાહેબને, દરગાહ સાહેબને સાચવવા માટે કાઠીની જરૂર છે, મોબેડ સાહેબની જરૂર છે, ચાસણીવાલાની જરૂર છે. તો આ બધા ફંડ્સો જો તમે બધા આખા ઇન્ડિયાના જો ટ્રસ્ટીઓ તૈયાર થાય અને વડા દસ્તુરજી જો તૈયાર થતા હોય તો આ વસ્તુ પોસિબલ છે.
પરવેશભાઈ બોલી ગયા, એમાં થોડું પરવેશભાઈને બોલવામાં જરા સમજણમાં આપણે ભૂલ છે. આપણે કોઈ બી જાતના અગિયારીના આતશો બીજા આતશો સાથે મર્જ નહીં કરી શકીએ, કારણ કે એક અગિયારીની પોતાની આઈડેન્ટિટી છે, પોતાનો તે સાલગીરહનો દિવસ છે. જેમ આપણો સાલગીરહનો દિવસ છે, આપણી આઈડેન્ટિટી છે, તેવી જ રીતના આપણા આતશ પાતશાઓની બી આઈડેન્ટિટીઓ છે ને. એટલે ઘણું તો આપણે મકાન શિફ્ટ કરી શકીએ ને સેપરેટ કેબલામાં રાખી શકીએ, પણ આતશ નહીં મર્જ કરી શકીએ. એટલે તમારું કહેવાનું બરાબર છે, પણ જરા એનો ઉલ્લેખ ખોટો થઈ ગયો, માટે એની ઉપરથી કંઈ ચર્ચા એ તે નહીં થાય. તેને લીધે આઈ એમ જસ્ટ ટ્રાઇંગ ટુ ક્લેરિફાઈ. બરાબર છે રાષ્ટ્રપતિ સાહેબ?
So may I request Jimmy to come here and say a few words?
આપણને લગભગ વર્ષના 3 કરોડ રૂપિયા જોઈએ ટુ મેક શ્યોર that these mobeds continue to do Pamal Kriya Kam. How can 3 crores be raised? One is to have a corpus which is a long term, short term, which we can implement immediately આવતા 3 મહિનામાં. 3 કરોડ રૂપિયાનો હિસાબ, we announce it publicly, go to the entire so-called Sethias of the community and take a commitment. Falana will give 25 lakh, Falana will give 50 lakh. You know we had tried to create a Mobeds association with Nasli Wadia and Bombay Parsi Panchayat 2 years with Dasturji Kotwal's blessings, and we worked a lot on it. Immediate solution, next 3 મહિનામાં પાવમલ ક્રિયાકામ કરનાર કમ્યુનિટીને ફોર એવર સેવ કરવા વર્ષના 3 કરોડ રૂપિયા જનરેટ કરવાના છે. I can personally contribute X amount. That's not what I'm here to announce. But what I'm here to announce is wake up call for the community, 3 crores to be collected. I'm sure with you, your offices, all of us over here, Dinsha uncle, 3 crores a year is something that we can achieve immediately. Corpus, yes, is required. But agar corpus nahi thai sake, to future ni war nahi joine, atyare tarat 3 crore rupiya collect kari, and disbursement can be done through Athornan Mandal, disbursement can be done through anybody. This is solution number 1. I am ready to commit an X amount of money within this 3 crores on a yearly basis. I'm sure 3 crore rupiya community can collect. Second, overall schemes for Mobeds. Mobed amelioration scheme, Bombay Parsi Panchayat ma we had started off. From giving a pension to giving education for their children to compensating their income. Let's stop talking about doles. Let's start addressing the problem. Mobedono pagar kai rite change kari sakiye. I think the word doles and incentives have to be stopped. Pelle lokono pagar change karwani zarurat chhe. I fully agree with my friend Noshir. We have properties within the community, but it's a long-term thing. By the time we can dilute a property and get a corpus of 250, 300 crores, આપણી પાસે ઘણી બી properties છે, easily થઈ શકે. But I do not think within the current state of the community this is going to be done. But I 100% agree to get a corpus of 300 crore rupiya, which is what is required for uplifting overall Mobeds, can be done by diluting one of the Bombay Parsi Panchayat excess properties and creating that corpus. If that cannot be done, need to start the second scheme, 3 crore collect કર્યા પછી 12 કરોડ રૂપિયા વર્ષના કલેક્ટ કરવાના એન્ડ અગેન કમિટમેન્ટ્સ કેન કમ ફ્રોમ પીપલ. જ્યારે અમે લોકો મોબેદ એસોસિએશન બનાવવાના હતા ત્યારે ઓલરેડી 2 કરોડ 2.5 કરોડ રૂપિયાનું કમિટમેન્ટ આવી ગયેલું હતું. And I'm sure we can collect the next, after doing 3 crores, we can start collecting 10 to 12 crores a year. These are the two only implementable schemes possible in immediate future. Remaining, it's God's wish how things will move, but this is what I wanted to state. I'm all for it. If a small team can be made together, 3 crore rupiya karite collect kariye, and second step, 12 crore rupiya barasna karite collect kariye. Thank you all.
When I first came here, I told Sarosh that I would not be speaking anything. But after hearing these discussions, there is just one issue I would like to raise, which would be like a solution. Pervez Sahib said that fires must be merged. I disagree with that, respectfully, sir. I don't think there is need to merge any fire. However, the fires in many agiaries where there are very few footfalls, those fires can be shifted to other agiaries which can accommodate them, like we have at Lonavala, what we earlier had at Navsari, and those assets, those properties can be monetized and used for creating such a fund. This is what my views are. We can start off with this 3 crores that Jimmy has said, and monetizing, say 5 or 6 of our assets and putting them into this Mobed fund should earn us at least, if not more, at least 100 crores, I think. These are just the views I wanted to share with you all. Thank you very much.
I think Darius would like to have a word or two.
I think what we have heard and what we all know, I mean, we have been practicing since this vocation, since 30, 40, 50 years, all of us. What we are seeing is a circular effect. આજે કોઈ અગિયારી બી નથી આવતું, મોબેડો બી નથી મળતા, નથી ચાસણીવાલા મળતા, બેદીનો બનાવતા બી નથી, બેદીનો છે બી નહીં, બેદીનો ઓછા થતા જાય છે. One of the single biggest cause, or rather two, which we have left it unaddressed, is the dwindling members of the community in India. Two reasons. Predominantly migration outside India, and second is intermarriage. આપણા જ બેદીનોમાંથી કેટલા જોયા હશે કે એટલીસ્ટ 30 to 40 to 50% one of their kids are intermarried. Parents have also, either they have passed away, ને તે લોકોના બચ્ચાઓ જે નલ્લેથી આવતા હતા, once they get married, they are out of the community and they are not coming. જે પોતાના માઈ બાવાનું 12-15 વર્ષ બનાવતા હતા, તે લોકો 5 વર્ષ પર આવ્યા, 5 થી 3 વર્ષ પર આવ્યા, 3 થી 1 વર્ષ પર આવ્યા, હવે ચોરમ 10મું માસીસો છમસી ફરસી. So it's a circular effect. There is nobody to offer the prayers, there is nobody to pray, there is no chasniwala, there is no. So કામ બી ઓછું થતું જાય, અગિયારીમાં લોકો બી આવતા ઓછા થતા જાય. So that is one issue to tackle, the dwindling members of the community and members of the community coming to અગિયારી on a daily basis. જે બધા એકલ ડોકલ ડોસા ડગરા આવતા હતા, and as આ તમારી જે અગિયારીનું સિચ્યુએશન નથી રતન શાહ સાહેબ, તમે બોલ્યા તેમ 2 ને 3 અગિયારી, અમારે તો બી 3 કે 4 જ જણ આવે છે રોજ જ. And it's on the main road, it's not that very inconvenient also. Probably Iranshan અંદર and Surat Atas, Navsari Atas Beram, also Surat Atas Beram, એક જમાનામાં ભગભગતું હતું. Many times, few months ago I was in Udwara Atash Beram, there were only 2 or 3 people. એક જમાનામાં બારી આગળ સલિયા પર ઉભા રહીને ધક્કા મારતા હતા કે ખસી જાઓ કે અમને વનવાનું છે ને પગે પડવાનું છે. So that is one thing. Second very important point is training. Now training એક તો ભણવાની છે ને, એઝ somebody said કે બધા જ યોજના ટ્રેકર મોબેડ નહીં થાય, but there are no યોજના ટ્રેકર મોબેડ્સ are not required. Everybody need not be a યોજના ટ્રેકર મોબેડ. So there are different kinds of mobiles. Just like everybody cannot be a CEO or a CFO or the best doctor, but you require a team. So based on the capability and capacity of each individual, we require different types of mobiles. Zafarkan Foroxiwala mobile છે, ડુંગરવાડીનું કામ કરવા mobile છે, નિરંગદીન કરવાવાળા mobile છે. All these things can be taken care of by madrasa. Not just religious training, not just bhantar training, but religious training, how to behave with the laity, how to explain them. And two important things, there are lots of video messages. ખાસ કરીને Jain group, if you see their Swamiji, તે લોકો જે પ્રવચન આપે, and giving them live examples of daily life. And people throng in large numbers. And they are all, એક તો પેલા ગોપાલ દાસ છે, પછી એ લોકોના આદેશ્વરજી, સુરુશ્વરજી છે, બધા.
I mean, it's a pleasure to listen to them. The free-flowing lectures. What is religion? Why do people come to religion? Our religion is not about कि आपरे गुजरी जैसु पची सूत है. It is about living daily life. And if the priests are able to hold the hands of the laity to guide them towards religion, I still remember very distinctly when I was young, my grandfather was a very person who was easily approachable. Lots of people, lots of Bedin used to come with their physical difficulties, mental, even PC करता था, guidance आपता था, कितने वक्त खिस्सामाती कोई ने पैसा भी आपता था, कोई Bedin तकलीफ में आई तो. So that is a friend, philosopher and guide. So that's how we come. So that's what is required for a Mobed to be trained as a friend, philosopher and guide, not just to pray. And we said we are asset rich and cash poor, which is right. So we have to be practical. We have to start getting things together. I am also a trustee of Ranji Agiari, where there are probably there may not be 10 people who are coming to Agiari in a month. Forget about a day. So we need to take certain tough decisions, and it's not that it is not done in the past. Godrej Bagma ji Agiari se tauri the we can all keep together. We can sell off the properties which are disused because they apre atyare nahi karsu to MB khawai jaise. If we don't act now, after a few years, they will anyways be eaten, they will be anyways be encroached and anyways be gone. So it's a multi-pronged solution. There is no solution. Of course, we need to liquidate property which is disused, not something which is active. Keep the funds. There are different categories of Mobed. Mobed needs to be a friend, philosopher and guide. And we need to take our religion together. And first is intermarriage and migration. That is also two critical problems. First of all, if Bedin cannot support, at least we incentivize Bedin to offer more prayers in the Agiari. And you would have seen amongst themselves, काम continuously also to the If you ask the best person to ask, काम कितलो ओछू થઈ ગયું is to ask Faram from Dadi said Agiari, મીઠી વાની se બનાવે છે. He knows the record of all the Agiaris because 90% of the Agiaris take મીઠી વાની from him. તો એ કહેશે કે આનો આટલું અગિયારનું આ આટલું કામ ઓછું થઈ ગયું છે. So if the best person to interview is Faram from Dadi said Agiari, and you have to go and ask him, "Bhai konnu ketlu kaam tha?" So he will give you a report. Now he will say, in my this thing, atla balla kaam tha, from 12 people working in Muktat, he is down to 6-7 people working in Muktat. He will say that himself. So it's a circular effect, and we need to break the chain. With the limited population, we can do limited set of things, but at least get acted on whatever all the solutions have come up with. And at least we should make a start somewhere. And any start is a good start because secret of getting ahead is getting started. And first, 20% of the work takes 80% of the time. Then it will, once ek baar cycle par chadi gaya pachi bas pedal mariya karvanu che. Thank you very much.
We were really hoping that, some of the more learned people in the room could come up with some solutions. But seeing that nobody else is there to speak, I might as well use the opportunity to put forth what we've put on paper so far. And what we put on paper so far is a skeletal structure on how the future of Mobedi should look. And one of the things which we've considered, and this solely depends on funds. So today, Mobedi as a profession is being remunerated solely by the trustees. They are paying a salary, or by the munificence of Bedins. So, je Agiari ma trustee or Sara hoye, they take care of the Mobeds. There are good trustees, and of course there are trustees who are, they just let the Agiari run as and when. It's a sorry state of affairs, but that's the truth. Now, what have we come up with as empowering Mobeds? I have a whole entire list. I have a list of criteria, how you're going to define Mobeds. What should be the different categories? There are 7 to 8 categories in which, we can put Mobeds. Starting from Pawmel, Kriyakam to Atash Behram Boywalas, which warrant a separate category because doing an Atash Behram boy is not just Jaina Ghanta Thokvanu, it's a very laborious job. And it's not ke second day tame ke biju kari sako. You are really physically fatigued. So that is another category. Then there's a category for full-time priests, the category for part-time, boys, because we need these part-time boys because the community as a whole cannot sustain monetarily an entire, full-time generation of priests. That's what the conclusion we've come to. So the part-time Mobeds are also important. And, there are Dungarwari Mobeds. There are people who do only daily Kriyakam and don't do the Agiari boy. That's a separate category. So there are categories, and of course, Vada Dastoorjis and panthakys who get overlooked in any scheme. Okay, you know, if you're doing insurance for Mobeds or if you're coming out with any scheme, the Vada Dastoorjis are treated at par, which is a sort of an injustice, I feel. So apart from this, you know, a lot of people have spoken on how madrasa children should be retained and, you know, we have been speaking to the madrasa children for the past 4 to 5 years. What has come out of these dialogues and what has come out is that the children are staying in an environment away from their parents. And what we are expecting from them once they get out of the madrasa is to become full-time practicing priests, which some of the parents, you know, don't encourage for monetary reasons. And some, koi bachchaoni kainat nathi hoti ke Yozdatregar Mobed bane. Not everybody can become a Yozdatregar Mobed. Even after upskilling, tame કેટલું બી એ કરો, જે રેસનો ઘોરો હોય તે રેસનો જ ઘોરો હોય ને જે ઘોરો ખાલી ચારવાનો હોય તે ચારવાનો જ છે. સો તમે એને કેટલું બી સારો ચારો કાંઈ નહીં આપો, he is not going to win the race. So you need physical, mental, emotional strength. So that is why, you know, what is alarming for us is that Yozdatregar Mobeds, the number of boys taking up Mobedi from the madrasa who are qualified to do this, we are not seeing those boys. So why? So it is because Mobedi is increasingly being seen as a part-time profession. કે મને મુક્તાટમાં મને સારું મળશે તો હું મુક્તાટના 10 દિવસ જઈને ભણાશ, બાકી તો મને નોકરી કરવી જ પડશે. Why did Sherazad leave doing full-time Mobedi? Why did he leave? It's purely monetary. Whatever, you know, socio-cultural, chokri nathi malti, ai nathi malti, kai nathi maltu, it's purely monetary. We have to understand that, we have to acknowledge that. Till we don't acknowledge that, all the good, you know, philosophical things are not going to help us. Pachi tame કહી શકો કે હા, I am giving you so much money, you have to, you know, give me something back. That's when you can demand that from a Mobed. But till you don't give, how are we expecting? So there is no stability or guarantee of income. Somebody else also touched upon that. It's like dehadi mazdoor. Pela sawarna જઈને બાકરા પર તારદેવના નાકા પર બેસે છે, તેમ મોબેડો જઈને બેસતા હતા. કેટલી અગિયારીઓમાં બી આજે તે જ છે, પરમેનન્ટ છે જ નહીં. It's like you are, you know, giving them dehadi mazdoor salaries and you are expecting more out of them, friend, philosopher, guide. અરે માણસનું તો એટલું ભેજું જ નથી. You are not attracting that kind of talent into this profession or vocation. You are not able to attract that talent. What are we looking at? We are looking at, you know, જે લોકો, you know, BCom pass થયા છે, 12th standard pass થયા છે, for some reason, you know, they have not been able to, you know, eke out a living. માથા પર સફેદ પગરી છે, સવારના ભણવા આવી જાય છે. It's a sad fact. That is the kind of talent we are attracting. Why? Because we don't have a structure. We don't have a proper structure. Today we have the Athornan Mandal. Banu banayelo છે. We have to strengthen that structure. We have to bring in a monetary structure now. It's a high time that we brought in that monetary structure where Athornan Mandal itself, okay, provides proper salaries. If not full salaries, then at least something to augment the income to start with. So that I can go proudly to a madrasa children's માય બાવાને જઈને કહું કે એને મદ્રેસામાંથી નિકળશે, એને 1 લાખનો પગાર મળશે. So he has to do this. His work, scope of work is defined. દિવસના 8 નહીં તો 10 કલાક એને કામ કરવું પડશે. આખો દિવસ બોય દેવી પડશે. એના આટસ બેરામમાં જઈને બોય દેવી પડશે. આજે આટસ બેરામના બોયવાલાઓની આપણે વાત કરીએ છીએ, એવરીબડી ઇઝ અબવ 45. યંગ છોકરાઓમાં અમને ખાલી 2-3 જણ જોઈન થયા છે તો જોઈન થયા છે. એવરીબડી ઇઝ અબવ 45. વોટ આર વી લુકિંગ એટ? વી આર સ્ટેરિંગ એટ કે બોય દેવાવાળું નહીં રહેશે. આજે નવસારીમાં થોડા વખત પહેલાં તેવું થયેલું છે. ઇટ્સ નોટ કે ઇટ્સ અનહર્ડ ઓફ ને નથી થયું. નવસારીમાં થયેલું છે તેવું કે 1 ને 2 જ બોયવાળા રહી ગયેલા હતા. પછી બધા યંગસ્ટર્સોને શોધ્યા ને ઊભા કીધા ને બધા ટ્રેન કીધા ને પછી એ લોકોને બોય દેતા કર્યા. શું કે આજે નવસારીમાં આપડા નથી. પણ આ કમ્યુનિટી હેઝ ટુ વેક અપ ટુ ધીઝ, યુ નો, સેડ, હાર્ડ રિયાલિટીઝ. Mobeds discourage their children from taking up Mobedi for this one simple reason: remuneration. મારા બાવાએ ઈદોરા ઘસેલા છે, 1 રૂપિયામાં ને 2 રૂપિયામાં વંડીરાટ કીધા છે. મારા દીકરાએ બી તે જ કીધું જ. હવે 3rd જનરેશન અગર બ્રાઇટ હોય તો તમે કોઈ બ્રાઇટ બચ્ચાને એમ નહીં કહી શકો કે નહીં તું 5 લાખની નોકરી છોડ, 3 લાખની નોકરી છોડ, તું અહીં 30,000ની, 35,000 ને 50,000ની નોકરી કર.
It is a shame. If we are expecting that out of our Athornan Tola, it is a shame. It is no less than a shame. Today, I am not a full-time Mobed for the simple reason, it was not remunerative. Today, I am the earning member in my family. Today, my salary still in a city like Mumbai, being from a corporate background, having worked for 20 years, you still struggle to make ends meet sometimes. Still, your salary does not, sustain you. So, હું સોચું છું કે જે લોકો 50 ને 60,000 બી કમાતા હોય, શું તે લોકોનું શું થતું હશે ઘેરમાં? If the wife is not working, if they have elder parents, if they have, stuff which in a Parsi families, we don't have that American style કે નહીં, માય બાવાને હોમમાં મૂકી દેતા. We don't have that style. We keep our parents with us. How do you sustain 25,000 per person in a city like Mumbai? If I am earning a lakh, how do you sustain? And some of them are not even earning that much. પછી શું કરવું પડે છે? હદ બર કરીને જવું પડે છે. આ ટ્રસ્ટીને એમ કરો, આને તેમ કરો, પેલા પાસે લો, ઓલા પાસે લો. સો ધ મોબેડના મગજમાં જ્યાર સુધી આ બધું ફરતું હોય છે કે હું સિક્યોર નથી, મારું ફેમિલી સિક્યોર નથી, તો બચ્ચાને કાંઈ તેમાં મૂકશે. આજે કેટલા પેરેન્ટ્સો મદ્રેસામાં તેથી જ નથી મૂકતા કે કારણ કે મદ્રેસામાં મૂક્યું ને પછી ખાલી મોબેડી જ કર્યું ને એને સેક્યુલર એજ્યુકેશન નહીં મળ્યું સારી રીતનું. શું વિથ ઓલ ધ ડિફિકલ્ટી ઇન સ્ટડીઝ એક્સેટ્રા, એ ફ્યુચર એનું કંઈ જ નથી કરીને છોકરી નહીં મળશે ને પછી ધ લિસ્ટ ઇઝ એન્ડલેસ. Retaining the boys after DAI means after the pass out of the Athornan Madrasa. What have we come up with? We thought that, for 5 years, while they pursue their, secular education or college or whatever it is, we give them a minimum of 2 lakhs a year, okay? We ask them to go to a Mobed like Hoshedar or Ervid Adil Besania or somebody who's able to teach. In a few years, not every person doing rituals or, Yozdatre or Mobedi is able to teach. Teacher bhi ek class hovo jo. He has to be a class apart from the rest. He has to be the creme de la creme. Fortunately, we have 2-3 people right now. Future ma te bhi nahi rehsa because they are touching 50. Adil is over 50, of course. So, what we need is to give these boys some, incentive that you do this. After that, if I am able to say that, હા હું તને લાખ રૂપિયાનો પગાર આપું તું ના જા કરીને, તે હું છાતી ઠોકીને કે બસ ખેંચીને લાવશે ને, પણ હમણાં મારી પાસે કંઈ છે જ નહીં. હું કહું છું કે નહીં તું એમ જ રહે કરીને. પંચાયતને આપણે કહીશું તને ઘેર આપશે, પેલાને we are just being given assurances. Things do happen, they happen slowly, but at this glacial pace at which we are moving, we need to move faster. નહીં તો કંઈ જ નહીં થશે. અહીં બધા આપણા અહીં રૂમમાં જે ખાલી વર્ઝાવન છે, યંગ છે, we got him specially because he is from the madrasa. He is going to be a Yozdatre Mobed, I hope. He needs to see what the community is doing. Yeah, Shamak is also there. So we need to show these boys what we can do as a community before asking કે તમે આય કરો, આય કરો, આય કરો, આય કરો. Even I KMD, they are doing a stellar job. 4 લાખ રૂપિયા તો 4 લાખ રૂપિયા, જમીનો લાખ સવા લાખ રૂપિયા તો લાખ સવા લાખ રૂપિયા, કેટલાને વસ્તે તે હદથી પગ થઈ જાય એટલે તમે લોકો વિચાર કરો કે મોબેડની શું હાલત હશે. ટુડે વીવ બીન સીઈંગ આપણા આટસ બેરામના બોયવાલા સાહેબ બેસેલા છે, જોમ્બક્સ ચિઠ્ઠીવાલા, એવનને બ્રેનની સર્જરી અચાનક કરવી પડી. He didn't have the resources. Why? Because he didn't have a fantastic mediclaim. Why? Because number one, there's no one to advise. Number two, mediclaim costs money. And apne soche ke young che kai nahi tha sir. He had to pay through his nose. Luckily, Dinsha ji arranged the amount. Amne apro bijo bhi chokro che, he needs a crore. Community funds today are there to sustain such things. 20 years down the line, will there be people like you sitting in this room to even put their hands in the pocket and give out the money? I don't think so. Sorry. અગર મળ્યા તો આપણું ગુડ લક છે મોબેડોનું. ત્યારે આપણે મોબેડો શું કરશું? કોની પાસે આગળ હટ લઈને જઈશું કે આ મને આ પ્રોબ્લેમ છે, મારું કંઈ કરી આપો. If we don't put the structure in today, we will not be able to do anything for our mobeds in the future. I mean, we need to put a corpus. There are, very good chartered accountants in the room, financial minds. You need to put a figure, okay, at today's remuneration. And of course, you have to think of increments, etc. You have to corporatize this vocation. Till you don't corporatize this, there will be no takers for this. Thank you.
I would just like to summarize, basis what I've heard so far, some solutions that can be implemented in the near future, starting Amna. we were given certain numbers from the informal survey collected through the Empowering Mobeds Trust. If we could incorporate all of those and create the latest database and ensure that all practicing Mobeds, regardless of whether they are full-time, part-time, are registered as Mobeds under the Athornan Mandal, having a data-driven approach is very, very essential to something like this. So it is very, very important that we all get registered under the auspices of the Athornan Mandal. That is one thing to at least start off any action that we can take. The numbers will follow. We'll have experts to come up with financial solutions for that, but at least having the strength of numbers from Mobeds, that is something that we should be taking up on a personal level. Coming to the part of, there was an excellent point raised about deliverables from us Mobeds, how we can provide value. Thank you very much, Hanos. That was a very important suggestion. There was also a point about how there are very gada majurina professions or even as a commando, you'll slog and you come out after years, but they are still backed by pensions. That is something we've never had. So you do need, regardless of how rigorous a profession can be, you will definitely need a financial backing, which has been lacking. On a personal front, I was blessed by lovely mentors, but they were always dissuading me, stating that you are good enough to do something else. Full-time Mobedi ma na parto. For that narrative to change, it has to be backed by those numbers in finances. The immediate financial assistance, if we are very serious about protecting those 19 Paumel priests, there needs then on a war footing, a scheme has to come out wherein the existing practicing Paumel Mobeds are incentivized not for their performance, mind you, not just for their performance, but for taking it forward to the next generation. If we are so concerned about footfalls in the agiary, footfalls they are only of the older people. The newer generation just wants to stay away from everything in general simply because everything they find is bickering and controversy. The same thing with younger Mobeds. They want to distance themselves from the profession because they've been dissuaded by their seniors. So if we want that to change, somewhere our environment, on a personal front, the way we interact, that needs to change. But we should focus on the next generation, on how to rope them in, and starting with, like, you know, the people, the youngsters passing out from the madrasa, how they can be taken under the wings of full-fledged Paumel Mobeds. That should be definitely addressed. We need Mobeds as leaders. We are in the year 2023. How about we come up with these kind of resolutions? Okay, by the year 2030, there can be at least 30% of trusts having one Mobed representative. There are always a lot of questions. There is a definite disconnect between the Mobeds and the trustees. Often they don't even look eye to eye. Can we come up with some sort of resolution that by the year 2030, at least 30% of Agiari Atash Behram trusts have one Mobed representative? And later take it to a panchayat level. But the immediate ground level problem can be resolved with that. And a point about incentivizing our assets, which are burdens. We've got a lot of property, we've got a lot of land. We could consider solarizing them and getting some sort of cash flow from that. This suggestion was not for a Mobedi perspective, this was for trustees in general. We could look at solarizing our properties or even investing for them for plantations for sandalwood and kathi. That was all from my end. Thank you.
દર વખત આપના મોબેડ સાહેબોને માટે પુષ્કળ બોલાયું, બધી ઘણી મિટિંગો થઈ અને આ વખત ઘણું સુંદર બોલાયું, પણ તે ફક્ત પેપર પર નહીં રહી જાય એવી હું દુઆ ગુજારું છું અને હું આશા રાખું છું કે અથોનાન મંડળ એવું કદી બી થવા દેશે નહીં. થેન્ક યુ સો મચ.
Thank you for being here, sharing your views, having the thoughts. And I sincerely hope and I'm sure that with the help and with the courtesy of people like Jimmy, Dinshaji, Manik, Hanoz, Zerick, who are all the satyas of all the trust, we will be able to break through something. And I'm sure, taking Jimmy's idea right now together, that we start first with having 3 crores for the power mill Mobeds. We will come back soon to you. Don't expect, as I said, a miracle, but एक मोबेडी तोलाने ने मारा भाइयों ने जो कोई सारू थतु होय, that will be my most biggest achievement as a Dastoor in my lifetime. With that, thank you very much all. Thank you so much.
you.